Ilia Topuria is undoubtedly one of the best fighters in the world right now, and number 2 pound for pound currently in the UFC rankings. And as you see on the right there, next up we'll be fighting Justin Gaethje at the White House. Today, I kind of just wanted to go over Ilia's wins because he fights in 2 months, 1 month. Fights in 1 month. Against Gaethje. I'll be picking Ilia as 99.9% of the world will be doing, understandably so. Um, I'll save my full prediction for the video eventually. Um, but yeah, Ilia. A lot of people get on Ilia about his wins before his 3-5 win streak, and then a lot of people glaze him for his most recent 3-5 win streak. And I kind of just want to go over every single fight, give him a grade. I was gonna do a tier list, but that's kind of bedtime MMA's thing. I don't want to kind of just rob him. Maybe one day I'll do a tier list, but I don't want to just start with it and make it kind of one of my things, because that would just be copying bedtime. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna be kind of just ranking them in order and giving them a grade on a win. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started with Ilia. Of Ilia's 8 fights in the UFC, his worst win, and one that I gave it a D plus out of respect. Because people, to be fair, were not wanting to fight this guy. Ryan Hall. Um, Ryan Hall is a bit of a meme, as we all know. As a quick review of the fight, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna review how the fight went with Ilia, and then just how good the win is. Like I said, I gave this fight a D plus as a win for Ilia. Obviously everybody hates the commentary for this fight. Joe Rogan, as Rampage Jackson would say, giving the old rusty trombone to Ryan Hall. But yeah, he kind of just flopped around like a fish. He landed like 2 spinning wheel kicks on Ilia's guard, were like the only 2 shots he really landed. Um, you know, he tried to like hook Ilia's glove at one point, looking for an arm. Um, yeah, Ilia defended all of his takedowns easily, and then he goes for another roll. Ilia starts smashing him with GMP, ground and pound. And then TKOs him. Or not even TKOs him, kind of KOs him. Yeah, I give it a D plus because Ryan Hall is not that great. His best win in his career is Darren Elkins, which isn't awful, but definitely not something you want to hang your hat on. Like, hey, my best win is Darren Elkins. Like, hey, who's your best win? Oh, my best win, it's probably like, Cub Swanson. Oh, who's your best win? Might be like, maybe a solid, sneaky little Ortega win, which isn't great. Don't get me wrong, but my best one is Darren Elkin. Okay, let's move on from this guy. Let's kind of leave him out the rankings. One thing with Ryan Hall, with the narrative for his career, is oh my gosh, people were turning him down, dude. It's so crazy. They didn't want to fight Ryan Hall. He was such an intimidating force. When in reality, the people who he was calling out were either on a win streak that only made sense to fight up, or were booked in a different division. I'm going to name the fighters that Ryan Hall. This is going to be kind of a rant on Ryan Hall. I thought about making this a video, but I don't feel like making a Ryan Hall video. One of the fighters he called out by name was Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo was booked to fight Marlon Moraes and was coming off a loss to Alexander Volkanovski. No, it made no, and he still would have been ranked top 5 in the featherweight division. No, it would have made 0 sense. Another person he called out by name was Manny Moicano. Moicano was coming off a loss, I believe, to Jose Aldo. Could be wrong. He had a fight booked at lightweight and was booked in the top 10 of featherweight. No, doesn't make sense. He called out Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett was coming off of the Burgos fight. Emmett was on a 3-5 win streak, I'm pretty sure at that point. only makes sense to go up, not fight Ryan Hall. And lastly, again, sorry, this is a little rant. Called out the Korean Zombie, who just lost to TKZ, or who was just about to fight TKZ. So already had a fight book, and then moved down to bantamweight. No, none of those fights would have made sense. So, yes, screw Ryan Hall for calling out those people like, oh, these guys are ducking me, dog. Like, I don't get why they're ducking me. You know, geez, man, I wonder why. Maybe because it makes zero sense to fight you. Um, sorry. Ryan Hall, I give it a D plus. The worst one of Ilia's career. Not god awful, but definitely not. I wouldn't even say mediocre. Just bad, bad win. But anyways, moving on to the next best win of Ilia Topuria's career, it is Damon Jackson. Damon Jackson, I took a look at his resume, watched a couple of those fights. He's not awful. He's like a solid unranked guy who can give you a decent fight. We all know the infamous hairline comeback restoration. But yeah, kind of just the memes you'll see coming up to this fight are mostly going to be the way he knocked out Damon Jackson, where Damon's kind of like just curled up against the fence after getting knocked out. And you're going to see something like, I loved her, Gaethje. Justin, you don't understand. I loved her so much. I gave her everything. And then it cuts to just dead man Damon Jackson against the cage. Ilia in this fight, well, first for Damon Jackson, his L's are to mostly solid guys, to be fair to him. Obviously, Ilia, Billy Q, Danny Ige, Jim Miller, and even has a split decision win over Alex Hernandez as the last loss before Alex Hernandez's most recent loss. So that's not bad, He's alright defensively. He did solid on some counters against Ilia, but Ilia's boxing is just levels above his. Ilia worked the body a lot and threw heavy on his shots, overswinging on a lot of them. You can see how much tighter Ilia's boxing has gotten. And yeah, I think it's a pretty solid win. I gave it a C minus. Definitely a step above, or not even a C minus. I might say a C, just base C. Definitely a step above Ryan Hall, because he's actually a fighter, not a roll around on my back and hope I find a leg fighter. But moving on to the next win of Ilia's career, number 6. Yeah, number 6 will be. It's Die Herbert, bro. Bro, I put that Herbert up here because, Die Herbert, for a good head kick, I landed a good head kick on Ilia and knocked him down very badly. Jai Herbert's actually not a bad win in my opinion. I know he gets memed on a lot for the Trinaldo knockout, for the Ilia knockout. Had a very good fight in his last one. He also has a glass chin. As you can see here against, I forget his name, something Nalo. But yeah, actually not a bad fighter. Like, if Jai Herbert had a good chin, I do think he could be something. Like, not a champion, I don't think. But I genuinely do think Jai Herbert could be a top 15, like lower top 15, don't get me wrong, lightweight, if he had a better chin. But his chin is just so bad that it does not matter. He will get his glass chin will get shattered by a pillow if you throw it at him. So, it almost did in his last fight. But, regardless, obviously, this is the infamous head kick knockdown fight. Ilia's got a crazy chin because that flatlines 90% of lightweights, no matter who it is, and no matter who throws it. So, Ilia immediately gets the takedown after that, doesn't really do any damage. Jai lands some good shots. Ilia barely lands anything. But one thing I did notice, because I rewatched all of the fights except for the Emmett fight, because I really did not need to rewatch just a brutal beating for 25 minutes of my day. One thing I did notice, though, is at the end of the round, you can kind of see Ilia go for the same shot he knocks Jai out with. he does the same. I think it's a right hook he throws or a left hook, one of them. Um, I rewatched all the fights yesterday, and but for the first time he throws it, Jai has an elbow guard up, and it perfectly like it catches Ilia's hook, so it doesn't really land clean, and then the round ends. Um, and then for the next round, you know, same thing. Like I said, he gets in a little exchange, eats a hook from Jai, and then hits him with a way heavier one. But Jai doesn't have that elbow guard up, gets clean KO. And like I said, I know we usually meme on Jai, but he's like I said, he's a pretty solid unranked guy, and his L's are two mostly solid guys. Trinaldo back in the day was pretty good. Moicano, Ilia, Ludwig Klein, who we've seen is a solid prospect, but he doesn't face a very good wrestler like Gamrot, and Ziam, Francis Ziam, who is on a 6-fight win streak and a ranked prospect now. And then also Chris Padilla, who, again, another good prospect who got robbed in his last fight, in my opinion. Should have got a win there. Close fight, though, but definitely close but clear. You can have a close but clear, and in my opinion, that was a close but clear. So, yeah, pretty solid unranked guy. And like I said, I think if you give Jai Herbert a good chin, he actually could be ranked like 15 to like 10, somewhere around there, maybe even a teensy bit higher. Maybe I'm tripping, maybe I'm bugging. But that's what I've gathered from what I've seen on Jai Herbert. I just want a C plus because, like I said, or not a C plus, but a C because I'll say C plus because Jai is just below that level of like a good win. He's just like that's an alright win in my opinion. Moving on to Ilia's next win, number 5 will be. Ignore the numbering I've been doing. This would be number 6. I forgot Ilia had 9 fights in the UFC, not 5 or 8. I put Josh Emmett now. No, well, why are you putting Josh Emmett above Bryce Mitchell? Um, I guess I can go ahead and explain it. I feel like Bryce Mitchell is more skilled than Josh Emmett, and I feel like Josh Emmett is more God-gifted talented when it comes to like his power. His wrestling is solid, don't get me wrong, but his striking, in my opinion, is overrated. He just kind of has power. We've seen this in his last fights. At the time Ilia beat him, I think he was coming off the Yair loss. And then he got the Mitchell win. And like I said, I know you're going to say, Josh sent Bryce to the Shadow Realm. I know. But that doesn't mean that I can't think. Better fighters have lost to worse fighters. I can't think of an example off the top of my head right now. But there have been times. Matt Serra beating GSP. Is Matt Serra better than George St. Pierre? Was he even better than him at that time? No. Obviously not. But he caught him. And like I said, I do think that Bryce Mitchell's more talented, or not talented, skillful than a Josh Emmett at every facet of the game. His jiu-jitsu, his grappling, maybe the wrestling pedigree isn't quite there, but the jiu-jitsu I think is higher level. And I think his striking, legitimately, this might be a hill to die on, is better than Josh Emmett's. Because Josh Emmett's is just swing overhand, pray to God he gets a knockout. I think the last time he was kind of not so retarded, so to say, in a fight was, I think, it's been a while since I watched it, but the Shane Burgos fight, it was the last time he wasn't just an idiot, and he did something with his leg. He was fighting on one leg, one arm, something like that, I don't remember. So he kind of had to do that. But anyways, on to the fight. Enough about arguing why I put Bryce Mitchell above Josh Emmett as a win. If you search up the definition of masterclass and go to images on Google, you will see this fight. You won't. Don't get mad at me for saying that. I mean, maybe you will. I haven't done it myself, but this should be one of the images. It's just Ilia punching Josh Emmett. I think I scored at 50-44, maybe 50-43. I don't remember. I think somebody scored 50-41, and people were like, "What? What are you smoking?" It was domination, but calm down. I don't exactly remember how I scored it. Like I said, The strikes numbers on this were 89 to 171 total strikes for Ilia. Pure boxing at its finest. And not to sound like, Sean Strickland, but here's the thing, you guys. Here's the fucking thing, alright? Josh Emmett, like I said, not the best striker aside from just power. He kind of just at times swung crazy and hoped that Ilia's head was there, but Ilia had good head movement, so wasn't there. And he's kind of easy to predict if you have a quick reaction time because you know what he wants. He wants that big overhand right, and if he doesn't land it, he's gonna throw it again and again. Maybe he'll throw a big hook in there, maybe an uppercut, but barely. It's so far and few in between. It just doesn't really matter. So if you have good head movement, and it's kind of a guy that's easy to beat. There's not much to talk about if you watch this fight. It is one-way traffic, and Ilia even showed off his wrestling in round 1, if I remember correct, or round 5, if I remember correctly. And like I said, Emmett's not the best wrestler, but still, they're pretty good. Moving on to the next win. This would be number 5. This one, I think. Yeah, number 5. Okay. Bryce Mitchell. Listen here, brother. There's a reason that I'm above Josh Emmett, even though he flatlined me out cold. Alright, there's a reason. And God knows the reason. He gonna tell you, brother, why I'm gonna win my next fight. And why I wanna whip the piss out of Ilia's brother. That would actually be a fight that I hope they book one day. Alexander Topuria, hurry up and get a fluffing fight book, buddy. You're not getting a ranked opponent. You're getting at least one more unranked guy. Then you can maybe get a ranked opponent. You've beaten 2 solid guys, Colby Thickenese, and I forget who the other guy was. But face one more solid unranked opponent, then you'll get your ranked opponent. Sorry. Just had to randomly go off on Alexander Topuria there. Bryce Mitchell, I gave a B. Also, Josh Emmett, I gave a B minus. Bryce Mitchell, I gave a B. And like I said, I know he got murdered on live TV, but I just think he's a little bit better, more skillful than Josh, like I explained earlier. Ilia got super wild on the feet for this one, because I think he kind of noticed that Bryce was there to be hit a lot, so he was like, alright, let me try and put this farm boy out to pasture, you know what I mean? Hooks worked really well for Ilia here, showed off the ground game, which people act like he doesn't have. And like I said, I get so used to saying that, and then I just say it randomly. I was going to say that I know Bryce doesn't obviously have, Islam Makhachev level wrestling, ground game, or Armin, but let's not act like this guy gets ragdolled there, alright? I don't think he does. I think he will get out-grappled by an Armin or a Islam, if they have if they get a grappling exchange, if he doesn't have the proper grappling denial. But he doesn't get ragdolled, and I think people who think he does are insane. But yeah, overall I just want to be not much to talk about here. He gets the sub, I think it was an arm triangle on Bryce. I give it a B. Solid ranked win. Again, nothing crazy. I just give it a B as a contender, and then we'll move on to the next guy here, who is, I'm sure you can guess because there's 4 left, and obviously this guy ain't above one of the other 3. Yusuf Zalal in Ilia's debut. Win has aged very, very well for Mr. Topuria. I give it a B minus. Or not a B minus, goodness, a B plus. Because I don't know. I give it an A minus actually because Ilia got this fight on short notice. Obviously Zalal is good as we've seen. Despite the fact that he lost to Aljo. I predicted that. Let me get a sip of water, dude. Dang. My freaking throat. Yeah, Ilia took this fight on a couple days' notice, if I remember correctly. I think he had COVID like a week before or something like that. Obviously, a big weight cut. Part of the reason. He left featherweight. Let's admit you were also just glory chasing a bit. But yeah, good performance by him. Despite that, he showed off the boxing that we know him for, but we did see a couple holes in it, overswinging on shots that I doubt he would do the same for today. Showed off some submissions. Tried going for arm triangles, darces, mounted guillotine at one point. He did great defensively against Zalal's takedowns. Showed off some very good ground transitions that we haven't seen him use in a while because of, obviously reliance on the boxing, keeping it on the feet. Zalal tried to show off those knees a couple times, and he even showed off his slick BJJ transitions. And again, Ilia kind of gassed out, I think most people know, in the third round, almost at fourth. But again, like I said, it's short notice, big weight cut, had like COVID a week before, so pretty understandable on why he gassed out a bit. Didn't really gas out in that mid fight, but that was such a one-sided fight. It's kind of hard to gas out as long as you don't Gray Maynard, Frankie Edgar it, where you just literally expend all your energy in one round and then lose it for the next four. It's kind of easy to keep a lead like that, especially against somebody like Emmett. Yeah, again, Zalal's a guy who I said in my prediction video of him versus Aljo. I see him perennially being ranked like 6 to 9 for a while. And I'd say that's better than most of Ilia's other wins, which, will obviously be going over. The next three are pretty dang good. But yeah, pretty good. I give it a B plus or an A minus because of the short notice thing. I would say B plus just normally because these other guys are obviously A's, A pluses. Yeah, good win for Ilia Topuria, especially in his debut. Aged very well. Yeah, moving on. Happy champion name. Hey, Charles Oliveira, brother. I put Charles at 3. I know what you're thinking right here. Oh, Charles beat Max. I will explain why I put Max above Charles on this list in a little bit. Yeah, I'm not gonna get into why right now. I'm gonna talk about the Charles fight and why this is an A plus win, of course. Yeah, but the elbow, real quick. One thing I want to say: the elbow that everybody glazes that Charles landed at the start of this fight, that everybody posted and shit like that, was not as great as people said. Ilia was moving forward. It is a good elbow, don't get me wrong, but it was a bit Ilia moving forward. And in slow-mo, most shots are going to look really good. Just a decent jab is going to look insanely good in slow motion usually. So I just want to say that when I rewatched the fight, I saw the elbow and I hear DC go, "Oh, good shot by Oliveira." It's like, yeah, it was good, but instead of like he just hit him with like a shot that's about to start a wobbled sequence. You know what I mean? I also think the reason I put this below Max and Volk is I think Charles' last 3, other than Charles' last 3 fights, or no, that's not what I was going to say. I was going to say the reason I put this below Volk and Max is because Charles was, I think, 2-2 before this. His most recent one was Chandler. Not that great. Didn't look incredible in the Chandler fight. Didn't look bad, don't get me wrong. Didn't look incredible. Obviously, Chandler tried to cave in the back of Oliveira's head. We're lucky we still have our little Dubronx's back of the head still in good shape there after what Michael Chandler tried to do. But yeah, I think this one is really good. Going over Chandler's last 3 fights, seeing how good his grappling was, and Ilia just shucked it off. Obviously in the Max fight here, in the Gamrot fight, and in the Chandler fight too, partially, I'd say. So it shows how good Ilia's grappling and anti-grappling can be. Again, I do think Max is better, but I just hate it now that people are acting like, Max he's gonna ragdoll him. I don't think he's gonna do that if they fight. I think he will win in the grappling, but he won't ragdoll him. And obviously Charles was a lot less aggressive in those fights, but still, it shows me that, like I said, I don't think Ilia would get destroyed by him. Overall, good win. Obviously, I think if Charles was a bit more defensively sound, it would have been I think it would have still ended pretty early. I think it might have gone more like the Max fight if Charles was a bit more defensively sound in terms of where it ended in the third round, maybe second round, Volk. I don't know. Maybe more like the Volk fight, but I don't know. Yeah, I put this at third. This is obviously an A plus win for Ilia Topuria. Moving on to number 2. This is where things get controversial. I put Volkanovski at 2. Now, before you try to execute me, let me do some explaining on why I put this at 2 and not at 1. Volk was coming off of the second Islam fight. I know it was AI generated, but that AI generated video was very real for Volk, where he got flatlined by Makhachev in round 2, or round 1. Jesus. And then he only took he turned around from 4 months after the Makhachev KO. You shouldn't even be sparring for 2 months after a KO like that, let alone be in a training camp for a fucking assassin with just bricks for hands like Ilia. What are you doing, Volk? He should have taken at least 6, maybe 7. Shut the fudge up. He should have taken at least 6 or 7. Shut the hell up. Months off from this fight. Like, there's no reason he should have turned around that quick. And I cannot ignore that. And I'll give another reason why I put Max above as well on when we talk about Max. But I can't ignore that. That is way too big of a thing to just sweep under the rug and act like it's a flawless victory. I have to take that into account. Now, still an excellent win. I put it over Charles because Charles coming off a win over Chandler as his last fight. The low kicks worked very well for both men. I really like the body kicks from Volk on the outside. Not so much when he was closer, because, that left him open to, maybe an overhand, hooks, uppercuts, just any big shot from Ilia. But I did like the body kicks from the outside. Volk had the famous problem of leaving his chin way out of there when leaving the pocket, which usually isn't a problem because of how little power punchers he's faced in his career. But Ilia is one of the best power punchers of all time now, so not really going to work against him. I thought Volk won round 1. To be honest, I highly doubt it'll happen. No. I thought Volk won round 1. And then obviously got sent to the Shadow Round in the second. Now, to be honest, I really wish we got to see this rematch with a rejuvenated, with a extended layoff time for Volk. I really wish we did. Because I think Ilia still wins, right? But, maybe if Ilia, he stays, he beats Gaethje, maybe he doesn't vacate, maybe UFC lets him keep the belt, and then loses to Makhachev, comes back down, beats Armin. If maybe a Volk gets 1 or 2 defenses, maybe we do a Volk rematch, I'm just saying. I would love to see this rematch with a rejuvenated Chin Volk. Do I still think he chins Volk? Yes. But I think it'd be more interesting with Volk not coming off of a 4-month layoff after a round 1 head kick KO out cold. I'd rather see a fresh Volk, but I doubt we'll ever see the rematch. Still a very good win, and like I said, I don't blame you at all if you have this one, and I'll explain why I have Max 1 now. Also, obviously an A win earlier, or A plus win. This is an A plus win, or actually I'll say A because of it, but this is an A plus win. The reason I put Max above Volk as the best one of Ilia's career, Max had an insane amount of momentum going into this fight. And obviously Volk has 3 wins over Max. I think Volk is a better featherweight all time than Max. I think Volk won the second fight, no doubt, and obviously the first fight and the third fight. But anyway, Max had an insane amount of momentum coming in this fight. He was coming off the Gaethje fight, never been KO'd, BMF champ, second best featherweight, only behind Volk, and obviously has all the skills we know. He had everything going for him in this fight. All he had to do was not get KO'd. All he had to do was just beat Ilia up for 5 rounds. But anyway, I'm gonna talk about the fight real quick, and then we'll talk more about why I think this is his best win. I scored the first two to Max. Now, they were very close, and I can see argument. Like, they were so close, I can see an argument for 2-0 Ilia, 1-1, 2-0 Max. Like, they were both close. It's a classic case of volume versus power. And I personally liked Max's volumes, power, over Ilia's lesser volumes, higher power. Lesser volumes, lesser volume. Um, but yeah, I like the low kicks of Ilia again. Max did very well with short hooks, getting out of the pocket, jabs, oblique kicks worked very well. I know Gaethje won't use them because I don't think he's ever even thrown an oblique kick in a fight, but oblique kicks worked very well for Max in this fight. Teeps also worked. Um, Punches were heavier, obviously, from Ilia, but I think Max had just enough volume to win the rounds, the close rounds. When he hurt Max, obviously the power was there, but the precision is something like it was really cool to watch over the course of his career, just how much more precise he got. Like, when he fought Damon Jackson, Bryce Mitchell, he's throwing wild hooks and uppercuts. And when he got Max hurt, precision to a T, man. Beautiful. I would have been a lot more interested in seeing a rematch between Max and Ilia than Charles and Ilia, even though I don't think we'll see either, no matter who won that fight. Um, because I think a smarter Charles can do decent against Ilia, but I think Charles has a 0% chance to win against Ilia, while I think Max has like a 20% chance to win against Ilia, you know? And especially considering I think he won the first 2 rounds. Maybe a bit more defensively sound. It wasn't even really that. It was just Ilia being so good. But I gave this one an A+. Um, and I will continue to say this is Ilia's best win. Fight me. Um, I have to count the things in the background that went on with Volk. If it's a fully healthy Volk, or not fully healthy, fully like rejuvenated long layoff, or not long layoff, but decent layoff Volk, I would put the Volk win no doubt above this one. But because of the Islam thing, I have to put Max above it. And yeah, those are my rankings. Agree or disagree? This is the factually correct list. No, I'm joking. Obviously, I think people will mostly disagree with Max above Volk, maybe even Max above Charles, and Bryce Mitchell being above Josh Emmett. Other than that, I think most people would agree mostly with my list. Maybe a few tweaks. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Obviously, I think Ilia is going to win his fight at the White House. I think he's number 2 pound for pound. Great, great fight, but it's probably gonna be a murder. Anyways, hope y'all enjoyed. I love y'all. See y'all in the next one. Peace.